Bueno, buenas tardes para todos.
Good afternoon. I was thinking about Victor's presentation, and this has motivated me. How long would a distance ignited car would remain on before it's stolen by somebody here in Latin America? I was wondering. And the other thing, I wouldn't find my car afterwards. Victor talked about things we have in common, and I would add one extra thing: the experience of the user. And many people are working on it, being aware of this, others are not. But it's very important when you see these applications, and one wonders, why do they work? Because they are useful, because they are user-friendly, because they are simple. They will kill any other business model once you start using it. We'll see. If you try blood, will you want to try blood over and over again? Why do I call it welcome to the 5-star experiences? Why 5 stars? Because in Latin America we tend to complain. And before I put the 5th star, this must have been a memorable experience. If we add the 5th star, we are saying that the experience, we would like to repeat the experience, and we would like to recommend it to somebody else. That's why the 5 stars are there. Talking about the economy of the experience, this is not something I have coined. We are used to think that the customer is always right, but it doesn't matter whether he's right or not. The customer has the power, absolute power. The balance of power has changed. The customer can help us disappear as a company, or for us to be very successful, or in the best of cases to compete. You, the companies, and somebody else are standing on where this single gentleman is standing. If the others leave gradually, if they all leave, we're out. That's the end of us. Another example: 71% of the millennials prefer going to the dentist than going to a bank. I'm in the financial industry for the last 30 years, and you say the millennials is young kids with their cell phones smoking something, but they are economically active. They are clients, the clients that we would like to have, and they are also our employees. So we'll talk about how the experience of the customer changes the world of business in a very irreversible way. That barcode with people inside was done by Juan Musi, a Uruguayan artist. I love this bar chart. And we'll talk about customer experience, why the first steps, and in this half an hour, this is all I will cover, and I'm complaining aloud. But we'll see the concept of customer experience management, the experience of workers, and the experience of institutions. And I will ask you to help me. What is this CX, customer experience? That's the perception that is aware or not aware, the perception of a client with a brand. This has to do with emotion, and you'll hear a lot about this. Customer experience management is to design, to respond, even to go beyond the expectations of the customer. Here we have neurosciences, statistics, psychology, and of course technology. That's why we are here, because we want your companies to survive as well. If I can motivate you today and concern you about this, I will be satisfied. We need to know the customer. Everybody repeats this buzzword, but what does it mean to know the customer fully, thoroughly? Who he is or she is, what's the sex? We send mails, we send communications, Dear in Spanish, we make a difference between male and female. Many times we don't add the name. This is what people love the most. We don't even say dear. Everything means what the taste, what's the taste, what do they consume the most. If you consume a lot of technology or trips. Ana Inés Echevarri was telling us recently that she gets mixers and blenders all the time, and she doesn't want to cook, but she wants to travel. She likes technology, so nobody realizes that. And the customer would make a difference if we can choose them and communicate to them directly, like communicating with young people with a young language, call the call center, find out the other one on the other side of the chat speaks the same language. The visual experience and the things we offer can be adapted to that. Don't tell my grandmother to buy a BMW. That means that you know everything and you give experiences that are oriented to the interests of that customer. There's a lot more technology and information today, and we are not using it all. We are not processing it all. So to generate the emotional two-road feeling is fundamental to obtain loyalty and to obtain new customers. And this is my preferred formula for anything I want to do. There is a previous expectation, a perception in the end, and that perception is the reality. You cannot tell him, no, you're wrong, it's not like that. He will never come back, he will never hire you. For us, the customer's perception is his reality. Even if that's zero or negative, and somebody else comes with a better experience, you'll miss that, you'll lose that customer. There's another remote that works better than this one, I guess. It's more than CRM. Yes, it is. It's more than satisfaction surveys or call centers or digital or traditional marketing. We still publish on paper. Young people don't even watch television, so more than that. This is a little bit of all of this: emotions, behaviors, attitudes. We have to analyze all that intelligently, relations that are lasting. Because sometimes we say we trust this, because of that. This is all part of the same. Memorable events. Memorable events always make you feel something special, that you would like to repeat that event. Going back to personalization and being careful with all contact points with the customer. You have to be consistent. You cannot have a good mobile experience and then the customer goes to a store and nobody knows who he is. Memorable event means when someone says, wow, you surprise the other person. And this goes to the emotion right away. So how are we doing in this region, in these disciplines? One thing I hate is when they say, raise your hand if, but I'm going to do this as a revenge. As a revenge. Please raise your hands. If you, in your companies, have a team that devotes 8 hours a day, or the total effort, to customer experience, including a manager for customer experience, a manager that is part of the design of products that are oriented to the customer. Nobody raises hand. You are like me. You don't like to raise your hand. This tells us how we are doing. It tells very clearly how we're doing. There are other disciplines we need to take into account. Today we talk about companies that, apart from having people responsible for this area, like Mexico, US, European countries, already have these groups, and they have data scientists. That is to say, we have data, or we need more data. We know about behavior, we want clicks, we want to know what's going on. And all that information must be analyzed to generate new products and services and to know how we are doing and to make the necessary corrections. This is a discipline that needs to integrate new business architectures apart from the customer experience officer. And of course, we need an innovation team, someone who's responsible, who works in close contact with the rest of the teams. These three are essential if the company is thinking of a customer experience, if it wants to compete, survive. You have to choose or disappear. We're talking about a new business architecture, no doubt. The architecture of the roles and, of course, in terms of technology. What's this subject like in the world? It's growing quite a lot. Financial services are growing. They still have a long way to go. This probably refers to Citi, Santander, BBVA, that work in Mexico, Europe, and the US, and they are very much aware of what they need to do from now on. That's part of their vision. It's part of their vision. Some are very low, one wonders. But in the world, one thing is true. They all say that they will increase by 75% all they have invested in the last few years. They will invest approximately 75% in customer experience. This is 75% of what they have invested so far. Here we have an interesting example. What does Harley-Davidson sell? It's the last company that produces motorcycles. It's the last one alive. What do they sell? Motorcycles? No. What they sell is the idea that a 43-year-old accountant can dress in black leather, drive through small towns and make people afraid of him. That's what they sell. They sell an experience. They don't say, I sell this motorbike which is so many cubic meters and that you can save fuel. No, we sell experiences. They have the love marks. Let's see, there are many. But look at these things. It's a lifestyle, it's a philosophy with certain values. I belong to this group, that's a feeling. It's unique, it's a unique experience, and it has to do with my emotions. No one buys a Harley-Davidson because of how it is manufactured. There is curiosity. Harley-Davidson registered the sound of the pipes, because the experience of the user works on the emotions and the senses. So any of the 5 senses would be attracted by the sound of the engine of a Harley, and they want to repeat an experience by riding it. So they have recorded that sound by the motorbikes. We know some fans. We have to fascinate our customers, says one speaker, famous speakers. We know about business cultures, people who queue up for very long hours to get these things. Why? Because this man had everything very clear. That you have to start with the customer experience and then work back toward the technology and not the other way around. What creates or generates an Apple Experience Center What this kind of company generates with a top-down vision is that you're not thinking about the configuration. I don't buy an iPhone because the battery can be changed, for example. I buy it because it's a different experience. And here I will quote another important author, Simon Sinek. He says, if you don't understand people, you don't understand business. He is the author of the Golden Circle concept. It says that successful companies, especially in high fidelity, they think the other way around, from inside out. They think of the why. Why do we exist as a company? Why do we do what we do? And if the answer is to make money, then you will last a short time, and the employees will leave because they will work for money, and if somebody pays more, they will leave. Now, if you're working for something that has to do more with the emotional salary will be higher, and your employees will surely stay, as will your customers. Why do I exist? Why am I doing this? Is the economic result a test to show if you're doing right? Then the how. If I do this, I know what my value, my business value is. And now, how do I do it? And finally, what? What comes at the very end? The specific device is at the end. You can say, my company sells computers. Last generation, this processor, this and that, this configuration. It's not sexy, and I will only win if I reduce the price. When we talk about the emotional, the price is left aside. It's no longer relevant, unless the difference is astronomical. We don't talk about the price anymore. We talk about experience. But you bought that which is so expensive. I like it. But you have others. I don't mind. I want this. And Sinek says that leaders that inspire people who work for them think and communicate from inside out. There's one example in Apple communication that really illustrates this. It says, in all we do, we believe that we challenge the status quo, we think different, and we will change the world. In Steve Jobs' book, says, if you want to recruit people, ask them 2 questions. Do you want to change the world? And would you like to work in a company that is doing that, that will do that? Then work here, otherwise go elsewhere. And the second question, have you tried LSD or not? And he shows the 2 sides of a genius. Then he says, I want to change the world. I am changing the world. That's my purpose. And the way in which we challenge the status quo is to beautifully design our products so they are easy to use and user-friendly. That's the how. We don't even have a product. Then he says, we simply do extraordinary devices. Do you want to buy one? Of course I want. Yes, if you tell it to me like that, yes. Now, if you tell me I sell computers that have these specifications, I don't know, is it cheap? Maybe. Do I need it? Do I have to? I could buy it if there's no other way out. Now, the goal is not to have customers that buy what you have, but customers that buy in what you believe, and this can only be shown by the results. He goes to emotions directly. And he also goes towards the staff. When you visit this kind of store, if you visited an Apple store or a Microsoft in the US, I visited one. The experience is different. It's very well thought of. The Microsoft store has a wonderful technological experience to offer. Apple has It's very simple experience. But what I saw there was that the main fans are the employees themselves. This is what I call the emotional salary, which is very high for them. I was talking to one of them and said, "How good this iPhone is." He said, "Yes, but the next will be even better because it has this and that. When you buy it, you won't believe it. It will be out in the market in 6 months' time." And all these companies we're talking about, if you go to Harley-Davidson, the staff will also be in love with the products. So the main fans are the workers. Recruit them, keep them. And this is a question I asked Nicolas. And Nicolas says, no, don't ask anybody else, ask me. I was going to put his picture running a car, racing car, and I asked for his why, how, and what. He says, why? About GeneXus and in general. He said, why? We want to make life easier for people who develop software, and all that can be automated will be automated, and we build things that will help others. Regarding the how, by designing tools that make the client always use the latest technologies without having to learn about everything and maintaining the business knowledge they created. Think about the business and not the technology. So what do? We have application generators, interfaces, and databases to create software products for different platforms, both fixed, mobile, current, and future. Would you like to try GeneXus? That's good. If we start asking, what do you do? Application generators. I remember once Nicolas says, how many transactions and code lines for this, for technologies, but that's good. But for those who put the money, that's not interesting. Some of you did not answer my questions, but I'm not going to say who you were. Decision-making. Decision-making is mostly emotional. Most of the decisions you make, you're not looking at the cost, benefit, or allowances. Most of it has to do with the emotions. This is heavier, and this is where we need to work. Here we have the influence of the family, friends, the sense of belonging. I trust this blindly. I trust in these people. You even accept their mistakes because you believe, I don't mind. It's more than being loyal. It's a trust. I believe in them. I like it. Why did you buy that? Because I like it. It's very expensive, but I like it. I don't know. I like this one. So this goes to the emotional part of the brain. These are quick, deep reactions, and you cannot rationalize. You start saying, why you did it? Well, because the configuration. No, I bought it because I like it. I feel fine. I bought this cell phone because I like it. It makes me feel fine. This is used a lot, and there are very well-known cases that have been studied. This is used in politics. To change candidates, it's easy, but to change political parties is not so easy, but it happens. You have to be deceived, or some people have to be too bad. In religions, it happens a lot, and in sports. I was looking at the flags, an unexplainable feeling, and this is customer experience, no doubt. And this one in particular, they say that the Peñarol fans, after Peñarol was eliminated because it played horribly, they filled a stadium. So people forgive you for the errors, like the apple that went wrong, because people know that they're working to do something better. And this is a good example. This was to be taking place yesterday. But this is a feeling that you cannot rationalize. A British man may say, why are you a fan of the Manchester United? So, I don't know, because my father was a fan. I go there, I like it, I like this team. And this is used in projects like this one. And you say, Look at the difference. History has a place for you. This is a title. This touches your emotion. We were working to get a loan for the best stadium in Uruguay, by the way. When we were working here, an executive from the bank said, if you calculate the cost of one seat in this new stadium, if you go every weekend, it's much more expensive to buy the seat now than buying a ticket every weekend. But I said, that's not rational, it's emotional. Otherwise, the advertising would say, buy a seat for the Peñarol Stadium, this is the price. And it's much cheaper than going every weekend. They would have sold nothing, and this would not exist today. So the history has a place for you is appealing to your emotional side. You're not selling a seat. You are selling the historic opportunity of being part of this. I helped them build the stadium. Well, this is true of any other smaller soccer teams in Uruguay, by the way. Well, I read this. This was scientifically tested. It says, your clients are human beings. It was a discovery by science. Customers are human beings. And I made another discovery. I do science a lot. The employees are also human beings. So, do we have any neurologist here in the room? If there is one, please say something now. Otherwise, keep quiet. I will try to interpret what I understood here. We clearly have a human brain, and our customers also. So we have this brain. Then we have the limbic or emotional brain. This is not for survival. This is for emotions, for feelings, for the senses. If you went somewhere and you felt something, companies, hotels that recorded the perfume, the fragrance. So if you go there and you bought something, and when you go back and you feel that fragrance, your brain will trigger the idea or the emotion, I would like to go back there and buy something else. That is emotional. That doesn't go to the neocortex that makes the most difficult decisions. The brain is lazy. The brain is lazy and tries to think the little it can. So it refers to previous experiences, whether they are good or bad, before making a decision. 75% of purchase decisions are made by the emotional brain. What you buy, those who buy from you, are human beings, and most of the, over 75% of the decisions are made with the emotional brain, and these emotions are triggered 3,000 times faster than others. These are reference. You remember what you felt, and that becomes an experience and is repeated over and over again. Maybe you don't remember what you bought, but whatever you felt, good or bad, you will remember. You will never forget how you made them feel. They will never forget how you made them feel. And this is another group. Pine and Gilmore are from Harvard University, and they are studying because now we are in the economy of experience. So they started working on commodities. It's very easy. Then with goods, then with services. And they said, well, it's no longer services. It's not enough to have a good service or a good product. That's not enough. We have excellent products, excellent services, but we need experience. This is what makes a difference. And they talk about scenarios, like a theater. This was done in 1998. It's not that new. And you can see it clearly. This is a practical example. Coffee is a commodity. It costs nothing. Anyone can offer it. The coffee bag is cheap. Then we move into goods and services. If the service is good, the price goes up. Now, if you have the experience of Starbucks, it's different. So they charge what they charge, and nobody cares to pay a lot more, because the stage is an experience in itself. And they call you by your name, you feel good, they have Wi-Fi. So it's quite an experience. The customer is ready to pay more for a memorable experience. And if he feels the flavor, the aroma of coffee, he will want to come back. Banking is a very difficult business, and we make this type of mistake. We say, for example, buy a mortgage, and a picture of a man who's going to steal from me. Look at his face, and he's telling me, no commitment, this is going to be a hold-up. A customer does not buy a mortgage. He buys a house where he will live with his family or raise his children. He wants to buy a home. He wants to feel it's a home. It's quite different. And then you may say, okay, some applications start in the house or the car, and then you get the fund by the bank in the end. And the result of a business is very different. Why? Because there's a new type of client. The new client is complex, very complex. It's not loyal or promiscuous. It's a click away from leaving you. It's very much connected. He trusts in what the peers tell him. He finds out, he goes to fora. He's very active, no longer passive. He has power. He likes to co-create products. He wants to be asked about things. Of course, he does not understand about working hours or shops. He gets a lot of information. If there's a bad experience, he leaves. He's empowered. He knows he is. These people do internet bullying, and some presidents have fallen because of them. And they appreciate values. You know the why. Why do companies lose customers? This is a study that is old, why in red, third-party influence, because this is much heavier today. If everybody says don't go, you won't go. You won't go because the majority tell you not to go. Now, 68% of the people leave if they are not well received or attended. This I call the procedure, the reference, the personal reference. If someone is going to talk positively about you, he will share it with 3 people. If that person had a bad experience, he will tell this to 11 people. So 243 people hear good things about you, but 160,000 share poor comments with you, about you. This is a consultant, and maybe say that this is very strong. You have to be very careful. The customer experience is the next competitive battlefield. The business will be lost or won. That means we are successful, we compete, or we disappear. That's the next battlefield. So the future is no longer what it used to be. It was more predictable, but now, I don't know, I have to be paying attention all the time. Some understood it. BBVA says in the future, in the near future, BBVA will be a software company or it will disappear. And the disruption in this type of business and in all businesses, this disruption from customer experience, which has to go through different stages, will lead many companies to death. This is going to be the next battlefield. BBVA is clear about it. Iberia is also clear. Now, what is really going on in that ecosystem? Innovation changes the mindset of the consumer. That is like trying blood. Innovation changes your mindset. If you have a good experience, it's at wow. When you go somewhere else, you say, why don't they have it? They could have something wow as well. Why don't they offer me this or that? So he tried blood and his mindset changes. So he starts demanding that from other services he consumes. And companies that listen and realize, because they've been working in a certain way, if they listen, they start thinking, innovating, doing something less disruptive. They innovate, they release new products and services with better experiences. And this is a virtuous circle that is constant and unavoidable. It's unavoidable. We see this every day. You try something good and new, and then you say, why not? Why it's not present in my car? I'll go and buy something else. And the person starts comparing, then there's no way back. And your business model changes and the customers require this, otherwise they leave. There are methodologies, indicators, there are indicators and methodologies to innovate. And technology can help us. So apart from the fact that I may disappear as a company, what else can I do? What? We talk about information volumes. We have to analyze interests, behaviors. We should observe what the customer does, where he bought, what his preferences are, at what time of the year, what time of the day. Some people connect at night and then they do their transactions, so I can offer them certain things and not when they are working, because then it will be too late. Mobile, mobile, mobile. In banking, everything is mobile. Mobile banking, TV banking. Scotiabank in Peru has TV banking. And watch banking is already existing in Spain. You use your watches to do your banking activities, and the push notifications come to your watch. Internet of Things, of everything, is for everything that you wear with sensors. There will be 50 billion devices connected in 2 years' time. All that is generating information. If I collect it and put it in the cloud and process it, I will know my customer better. If I ask him what he prefers and how he's doing it, he may suggest a service as they do with Nike and this and that. And they buy it. Customers work for us and they do it free of charge. CRM, BPM needs to exist, a lot of technology in contact points to manage client feedback. Of course, we need social networks, and also we need to convince to have a strategy that is progressive and to preach that this is the reality. We need to evangelize. There are many startups. In the States only, we have 8,000 financial technology startups with mobile technologies, and half of them will disappear. Half is a lot. There are 40,000 fintechs in the world. These are technology startups. If half of them die, we still have 20,000 left. What do banks do? I either associate or open my APIs so that people who think about the customers first have something to do. These people will help us. Sometimes they buy and destroy them if they put them inside their organizations, or they have agreements for them to do the usability, and they use APIs for the transactional part, and they can manage that. The fintechs know about technology and customer experience and do things very, very quickly. Digital marketing, individual, consistent marketing. If you told me something and I said, no, don't offer it to me again. Don't come again. I said no already once, so don't insist. So I'll go somewhere else. To make an abstraction, to simplify, this we know how to do. Simple is beautiful. This is very Zen. But when we analyze things, simple things are beautiful. And going to what's next, or what's your next step, the first step is always the most complicated one. Julio De Caro is not here, but I think, first of all, you need to realize it's not just listening and being aware. To be aware means to internalize it. So this is part of your unconscious. It's not in the rational brain. This is being aware. This is realizing. This is what Julio De Caro explains clearly in this book or in his conferences. Amazon people invite you to a party, to share it, to be part of your life, to be part of your events, of your feelings. That red sentence is mine. Now must be the first step for what's next. The first step is complicated, but let's take that step now. It's worse not to do anything, much worse. Don't start your business because of a design. Start with the customer. The best banks in the past were those that had the very thick columns. Well, finally, as a conclusion, it depends on the maturity of each company. Some companies have made a lot of progress, others are not interested. But internalize the theme and what for. Go top down. The president, board, and top hierarchy should be convinced, should internalize this. Otherwise, don't start. You will be wasting your money. That's why evangelizing is so important. Redesign and innovation start with the company culture. That's obvious. We have to be clear about why, how, what. This should be a vision that cuts across all the employees. You have to generate capabilities, experts in innovation. We have to generate customer experience areas. Don't be afraid of making mistakes. This is innovation. This is disruptive. You may make mistakes. Correct quickly. It's worse not to do it. Responsibility is shared throughout the company. We are all responsible. If you don't understand this, we will all make mistakes. We need a technological structure, a business architecture, and data. We need to get to know the client more deeply, to activate, to really get the gist of your data, use it. Get the most out of them. You can start with a segment, a product, a service. Be consistent throughout. It's a process from end to end. And there are methodologies. That's good news. There are indicators. The personalized digital marketing is important. It is consistent. It's omni-channel. If it's for the young, show it for the young. Tell them why. And then see what the young person is interested in. Give them what they are interested in. Verify data, of course. Otherwise, if we get that wrong, we'll be offering the wrong products to the wrong people. Ask for external help and see what successful people do about it. And training will give you this as well. Maybe this marks a difference. This will be what will help you retain your customers. The customers will be looking for that difference. They're not loyal. If they don't get that from you, they will get it somewhere else. They compete, they are successful, or they disappear. Large companies have disappeared. They thought, I have the perfect watch. There were 70 watchmaking companies in Switzerland. There's only one left. This is all I could do. I'm not looking at the watch. And as a final example, I like this, and I would like to share it with you. There is only one boss, the customer, and he can fire everybody in the company by simply spending his money somewhere else. Power is elsewhere. And the customer is the boss, a human being, though you may not think he is. Thank you, people. Thank you.